En la entrevista que se titula Los sonidos no me interesan, hablas del deseo de llegar al oyente desde la inmediatez, es decir, sin una autoridad intermediaria, como la que podría ser la categoría de compositor. Estando en esta idea y vinculándola con el procedimiento de Hertext, que es una obra en la que te sentás durante 40 minutos en un determinado lugar y simplemente escribís sin ninguna estrategia de mediación todo lo que escuchás en tu entorno. Acá les voy a poner el PDF, acá vemos esta obra de la que hablaba. Y entonces sigo. Esta obra, digamos, vinculándola también con el procedimiento de Blindfold, que es una pieza que existe solo a partir de su enunciado, Venda se llama, y la pieza existe solo en su título, y es solo lo que su título dice lo que es Blindfold, ¿no? Entonces la pregunta concretamente sería si crees que son dos piezas en las que de alguna manera, retomando esta idea de la inmediatez, llegaste a la máxima inmediatez o no mediación y síntesis entre el creador, la obra y el receptor.
I cannot say if it is the maximum. I don't know. What I can say is non-mediation is the one you are talking about, the one between listener and the mediums that are used, maybe in a concert, the instruments that are used, the setup that is used, and all these things. Well, it's all a part in a larger game or in a larger interest, I would say. I would say immediacy is a very general aim of mine. It's maybe something like almost something impossible, something I try again and again in every piece, and I have the feeling I'm not successful. So I try, I keep going, I try again. I'm making one failure after another, but I can't stop trying again and again. I would I would like to add sort of the favorite term or idea of that whole complex is maybe captured even better than in immediacy is in the idea of presence. There is something like I have always the feel, or from the very beginning on, I had the feelings that in our ordinary lives we never are here. We are never here. We are in our brain, we are in our work, we are in our language, but we are not where we are really. So, so for a long while I was believing that maybe art could reach this presence, could reach presence. So, and this is maybe the kind of shortest introduction into that very wide field that has so many different aspects in my work. But it's a kind of the key. I would say it's almost naive. It's like a romanticism in me. So something, but I cannot stop wanting to believe.
Voy allá. I have a question. Maybe I can just
Sure.
ask you. So, entonces, cuando Peter dice, los sonidos no me interesan, mi pregunta es si hay una aproximación suspensiva, es decir, si los sonidos son indistintos, si podrían existir o no, si podrían o no estar ahí, mejor dicho, o genealógica, lo que importa es cómo están hechos o cómo vienen a existir. Ahora me voy a explicar un poco más. Si fuera la manera suspensiva de verlo, estaríamos cerca de alguna manera del pensamiento de Cage, cuando separa, al menos teóricamente, la agencia de los sonidos de esa del compositor, de los intérpretes y de los que escuchan. De ese modo él quiere como extraer de los sonidos cualquier voluntad de representación, de significado y de uso. En este caso, ¿hay alguna relación entre los materiales de Peter y la idea keynesiana de silencio, donde todo sonido y todo sentido tienden a la nada? Entiendo que en su trabajo y en su manera de verlo hay una tensión entre la idea de silencio y la idea de ruido por la carga semiótica de cada uno de estos.
What I could say, I think there is a difference to Cage dealing with sound. For Cage, I might say sounds, if you take very simple, sounds exist. For Cage, sounds exist. For me, they don't exist. For Cage, they seem to be something like a real object out in the world. They are there. No? While for me, there is nothing of which I can clearly say what is there or what it is, a sound. If I take a specific sound, it always depends who listens to it, for example. So this aspect is for me much more important. The relationship, you could say, the relationship between a sound and a listener. So there is, it's not about the individuality of the listener that interests, it's also not the thing that interests me, as on the other hand, the sound doesn't interest me, but the thing that happens between the two, that's the interesting part. And that's I don't know what's the right word. It's a very variable part. So you cannot talk about it in ontologic terms anymore. No, you cannot say they have an existence. They are. It's not really true. They happen. Yeah, that's maybe, but only in a way, in a place that is already not easy to determine what place it is. Is it mental? No, it's not exactly only in the brain. I have the feeling it's somehow in between. It's between the real acoustical physical waves in a space of a sound, of a given sound, let's say, and my own perception. There is something in between that is not exactly in the space, not exactly physical, but also not exactly only mental. There is something in between, and that's a little bit also my kind of philosophy of sound, if you want to say so, and also the explanation of such a term when I said the sounds wouldn't interest me. So exactly in that aspect, they do not interest. They interest me very much what they do with us, you know, but not the sound itself is interesting.
Entonces, si fuera la segunda manera de verlo que planteé en el principio de mi pregunta, esa manera que yo llamo genealógica, estaríamos pensando no tanto en las cualidades físicas del sonido, sino en aquellas cosas que están antes y después del sonido. Una vez escuché decir a Helmut Lachenmann que un sonido es un punto atravesado por infinitas líneas. Me dejó pensando en esas líneas como las condiciones de aparición de los sonidos, materiales e históricas, tanto como las huellas del impacto que tiene el sonido al ocurrir, como vibración en las cosas y como acontecimiento. Y últimamente, leyendo a Adorno, tengo la sensación de que él piensa que en la materialidad misma del sonido se pueden escuchar esas huellas de la historia y de las cosas. ¿Pensás que hay en la materialidad del sonido ya un rastro legible de su forma de producirse? ¿Puede uno leer a través del sonido?
Yes, thank you very much. Very interesting question. How can I put it? I would say there is also a difference to, like say, Lachenmann or Adorno. And it's not completely, of course, it's not completely wrong, or it's there are aspects of it that are interesting to follow. But there is, I don't know how to say it. There is, but what is the right term? I don't find it in English. There is a what is the term when we thought the time when we thought the world is the center of the cosmos, the middle. You know what I'm talking about, like Ptolemeus and all these things. No, when we thought
I didn't got it well. What you said when the world is
searching.
Geocéntrico, me parece.
Yes, maybe geocentrico. And there is now thank you very much. There is now something in that Lachenmann phrase that appears to me. What's the right? I don't know the right word. Sonidocentrico, like the sound would be the center of everything, and that would explain everything. For me, this is not, the sound is not in the center. That's the important point. The sound is just one. If we stay in these cosmological terms, it's one planet or one star or group of stars. So within a larger cosmos. So all the conditions that make the sound, the institutions that make the sound, the concert hall that is built for that, and the education that we need to get interpreters and composers and all this many other things. It's all a much more complex system, and saying that the sound is, so to say, the central point from which you could explain all its lines is a mystification. That's not completely true. From there, you cannot see all the aspects. You cannot see the ticket seller, or something like that, or maybe the one who writes the program notes, or one at least who prints the program notes, and all these things. So you lose too many important, I would things that I would still call ingredients of music. They are part of the whole system music. No.
Perdón, Tomás, ¿querés traducir un poco esto que le repreguntaste antes?
Sí. Sorry, Peter.
Sí, no, en realidad le preguntaba si él pensaba que en el momento de escuchar estos... si en el momento de escuchar uno podría hacer una especie de lectura de esas condiciones de producción, más allá de que el sonido no esté en el centro epistemológicamente. Or maybe you think it's
okay.
not relevant.
There is something I'm kind of thinking about, which is this one aspect of the what you mentioned, coming from Adorno, like music as a sort of, or the sound as a sort of parallel world or something like that. So I would again extend that aspect farther to the whole system of music, as I explained in the earlier question, and even farther to all art. I would say art is a parallel universe to our reality, and this kind of so it creates its own reality, and that's why it's possible that it is mirroring and reflecting the, let's say, the other reality. That's why it can work as a mirror. So from this aspect, but all other specifications of Adorno that you mentioned, exactly the relationship to the labor work or fabrication or work, this is of course possible, but it's only one of 1,000 millions of possibilities of taking the system of any kind of detail of any part of the art world as a metaphor, so to say, as in a metaphoric. At some points there might be good reasons to get this parallelism of the factory world or fabrication work or production work, but I think it's not the only one. And so it's not central to my thought.
Okay, we'll show a short excerpt, if you agree, Peter, of instrument and voice, and then I have a little question. Ahí está.
Lower. Higher. Lower. Lower. Higher. Lower. 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 Longer.
Well, I don't know if you remember, Peter, but some years ago, I don't know, maybe 10 years ago, no sé si recordás, Peter, pero unos 10 años atrás aproximadamente, y te pregunté en esta encuesta que le hacía a varios compositores, ¿por qué creías que componías? Tu respuesta fue que si tratabas de meter un dedo en la pared, o una uña en la pared, se te lastimarían los dedos, y que si en cambio escribías una obra, tus dedos se mantendrían sanos. Esto me hace pensar acerca del proceso creativo o el arte como una manera de volver posible lo imposible o de acceder a algo que no es accesible de otras maneras. ¿Qué pensás acerca de esto? Me refiero a si te es posible describir lo que pensás acerca de esta cosa a la que puedes acceder a través del arte, o si esa cosa tiene algo que ver con la verdad o algo alrededor de ella. If you think that there's an idea of truth around art, or it's not in your radar.
And no, I would. Well, if you say truth and around truth, then this is a very wide field. But truth in itself is not something I'm going for. I would say music cannot be true. Music cannot be true. This can only happen in words. So truth is related to a verbal discourse. And only if you make some like metaphoric relationship between music and language, then you maybe metaphorically might reach to a similar concept that could be compared to a truth relationship or something like that. But otherwise, everything I'm dealing with is not in that. You know, there is. I have this is a very old question in my own thoughts. When I still was a student when I was reading Beckett. And there is this fantastic theater piece, Words and Music. No? It's exactly about that, what I'm talking about here. And there is one moment when the words So there are two figures in this game. No? There's a master, and this master is the boss about these two servants, the words and the music. And when the master is lonely and bored, he asks music to play a bit. Or he says, stop music, ask words to tell a story. And then the words go and tell a story. And then she says, stop it, I can't hear it anymore. Music, now, and so on. That's about the piece, right? And at some point, he says to the words, the master says to the words, he says words, meaning the words should talk, they should entertain him, to tell a story. And words don't want to, words say no. And now the master turns to music and says, okay, then music. And music also wants to say no, but what it does after Beckett's stage, what's the term now? What he writes in the notes, the music plays along A, like the tuning tone, you know, on a string, you know, plays along A. And I thought that's the point where I started thinking. I thought, isn't A a no? I ended up saying no. That's not a no. And from there I discovered that music cannot say no. There's no possibility. But when it cannot say no, it also cannot say yes, or it can only say yes. But the truth discourse needs this distinction between right and wrong, or between true and untrue. And that's really far from music. We have only sounds. We have not sounds. No, we can do silence, but silence is not sound. Silence is silence. It's just one of the many entities of our acoustical world. So there is a continuation that's already Cage discovered, right? There's no difference between sound and silence. So something like that. So there is always something acoustically. As long as our ears are happening, there is always something happening. So, and that's one small detail why the truth discourse is doesn't work with music.
Ok, bueno, si quieren, cualquiera que quiera preguntar algo, alguien tiene ganas de por ahí.
Ahí Ignacio, Danisa.
Ignacio.
Sí. Saludo a todos. Buenos días. Hi, Peter.
Hey.
Okay, I have two questions. En el 2011 yo tuve la posibilidad de tocar una obra de Peter que conocí ahí, se llamaba Sitio Ópera Buenos Aires, en donde nos hizo vestir de blanco a los músicos y proyectó sobre nosotros, sobre una parte de la pantalla y sobre nosotros, unas proyecciones de una esquina o varias partes de Buenos Aires. Y en ese momento, cuando yo tocaba, se formulé esta pregunta y nunca se la pude hacer en ese momento, que era si nosotros éramos parte también de la obra como una forma escultural, como una especie de escultura biológica de esa obra, además de ser músico, porque yo ahí estaba siendo violinista, pero me sentí en ese momento parte no solamente como un elemento sonoro, sino como un elemento plástico, si quiero, o elemento visual, escultural. Entonces mi pregunta es si él, en este tipo de piezas como Voices and Piano o en estas de cuarteto de cuerdas, él piensa al intérprete como un elemento escultural, biológico, más allá de la cuestión sonora. I finished the translation, Peter.
Yes, thank you. I think you answered already your question, didn't you? I mean, everything you explained is already explaining the role of that white cloth in that piece. Or so it's a sort of. I never thought so much about it, but because it was also a sort of a practical solution. No? If you need to have the musicians on stage, and at the same time you have the projection on it, there's a little bit. A struggle between the two, but so if I make them white, they are also part of the screen. No, they are both. They are projecting, but they are also projecting screen. They are also perceiving, so to say, something. So that's an interesting moment, this kind of double role or transparency of the interpreter in that. No? So it doesn't only come from the interpreter who plays towards the audience, also something goes on to him or through him or something like that. So sorry, in that sense, it's maybe a nice image, but I never thought about it before, so thanks for that.
No, quería preguntar en este sentido, ¿cuál es la dimensión visual? ¿Cómo piensa la dimensión visual?
Perdón, perdóname un
Sí.
segundito.
Sí.
¿Estamos ya todos? Sí, listo. Sí, continúa, disculpa.
¿Cómo piensa la dimensión visual en su obra? ¿Cómo se relaciona el oído con el sonido con la imagen? Si dialogan, si se completan, si se superponen, si hay un pensamiento en relación a eso.
Well, it has different functions, I would say. One thing is, of course, that to a part I'm considering what a concert also a situation is, a typical musical situation, also and in its visual aspect. For example, the stage setup and all these hierarchies that are created through a typical concert setup. So that's one direction of reflection. There is another one. If I want to furthermore understand what music is, what a concert is, I cannot only understand it from inside. I cannot stay close to the sounds, as we explained earlier, no, with the Adorno and Lachenmann question and so. So you have to look at a wider frame, and to see the wider frame, to see where the sounds are positioned in what is the frame. Huh? It's not only the concert. It's not only the stage or the score. Of course not the stage on which the sounds are played. It's also the full concert hall, and the hall is part of an architectonical system, a sort of concert house or philharmonic house or something like that. And to understand what that is, you have to leave the house. You have to go outside, and then you are not anymore already in the domain of music as such already. You go outside, you go backwards. You look at the concert house and you go backwards, and you cross backwards going the street, and you end up on the other side of the street, and you are maybe you are already in neighbor's garden. You still go backwards to get the full scope, to see where the concert house from where you are coming is positioned, what function it has in an urban situation. What are the houses left and right of the concert house? Only from there I start understanding what a concert house is in our society, really. So I have to take this very wide angle, and this very wide angle causes that I'm looking from outside music at music. So I'm looking sometimes from another kind of discipline at music. For example, it can be a visual discipline, but I'm not interested in the visual discipline. I'm just interested in the look at my own discipline. But to understand this, my own discipline, I have to sometimes expand the position from where I look that far, that I'm doing. It appears as if I would do visual art, but it is not. It is still music, even when there is no sound and it's only has visual aspects. It is still music. It's not visual art.
Ok. Entonces, Peter empezó hablando de que la relación, digamos, lo visual tendría distintas funciones en su obra. Una es que considera cómo es una situación musical en su aspecto visual, es decir, el setup del concierto, cómo se disponen los músicos en la sala, cosas por el estilo. Pero por otro lado, piensa que si quiere entender el fenómeno musical en su completud, no puede pensarla solo desde adentro, ¿no? tendría que ampliar el marco. Y para poder ver un marco más grande, digamos, no, la música, a dejar de entender a la música solamente como lo que sucede en el escenario, lo que está en la partitura. El escenario es parte de una sala de conciertos, la sala de conciertos es parte de una arquitectura más grande, y para ver eso hay que salir del edificio, ¿no? En el sentido metafórico del gran edificio de la música y también del edificio en sí, de la sala de conciertos. Ver la música desde afuera implica que quizás uno tiene que llegar hasta la calle o tal vez tiene que mirar el edificio desde el patio del vecino. Y uno ahí entiende la función arquitectónica de la sala en el contexto, por ejemplo, de la urbanidad en general. Entonces Peter a veces mira la música desde otras disciplinas, por ejemplo desde la disciplina visual, para lograr esto, pero esas disciplinas en sí no le interesan. Por más que a veces parezca que está haciendo arte visual, siempre está haciendo música, aun cuando no haya sonidos en las obras.
Sí. Si les parece, para terminar, le damos la palabra a Diego Macías y cerramos con esta última pregunta.
Hello, Peter. Yo recibo de Peter una profunda reflexión de lo que observa y de lo que experimenta, ¿sí? Y me interesaría saber qué aspecto de la imaginación él incluye, o de la fantasía, él incluye en su proceso creativo.
Diego, I think you understood, you mentioned two words. The one was imagination and the other was, Diego, can you help me?
Fantasy.
Huh? Fantasy. Okay,
fantasy.
Because this this explains what for me better, maybe in what direction your question goes. I don't know really if I would say at first, okay, if I say it very rude, both terms are a bit too romantic to me. So I would have to think about. I'm quite sure I could replace both the terms. What means fantasy, right? Fantasy. If it's on itself, it's not enough. It's not enough. For me, I can only replace it with this wider look, you know? I mean, the wider look that I was explaining. That's a task, you know. The people are so the system is asking you, let's say, for a piece, a string quartet, let's say so, right? And they think that there were 4 people and having their four instruments, and you fill the score and they do what you wrote in the score. But I'm maybe not happy with that situation, because I'm skeptical about the string quartet as a let's say, I don't know, as a political message, you know, I don't know. So I have to work sort of with that or against that a little bit, or even better, I have to put it in another frame, in a wider frame. I mean, that's one reason for the second string quartet you have seen, no? In the very beginning, and I would say probably this is very typical for many of my work. That works before I can start doing it, working with what I'm asked for. I sort of have to change the conditions. You know. So similar with the string quartet, I ended up making a video instead of composing. I was asked really actually composing a piece for a stage for a real string quartet, but the decision was this video that I made. No, so how can we replace fantasy with the right term then? What does it mean to for me, fantasy is not accepting what the system applies to me, so to say, the system wants from me. So I first have to change the system, and then we can continue. And I would say that's in an old-fashioned way, we still could call it fantasy, but maybe we should find a better word for it.
Maybe something like the disruption of reality or the deconstruction of reality.
Deconstruction, of course, is a much more modern word. That's a nice contribution. Thank you very much.
Okay, I don't know, Peter, if you want to close with some words, or we were around almost 2 hours, 1 hour and 45 minutes. So,
thank you very much for your fantastic questions. It was very exciting talking to you. Thank you very much. Thank you also, Tomás, for fantastic translations. My feeling was they were much better than my answers. The translations were always better. Thank you for preparing that so wonderful, bringing all the examples, and all the others. Thank you for wonderful questions and contributions you had. It was great fun with you. Thank you. Good luck for everyone.
Well, thank you very much.
Bye bye.
Gracias a todos. Un gusto verlos a todos. Nos vemos. Hasta luego.